This is Tyrese Haliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
What is up, Pacer Nation? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace, brought to you by the great folks over at Chat BCC. And ladies and gentlemen, your Indiana Pacers defeat the New York Knicks 130-121. They have won 3 games out of the 4 in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they are on the cusp of making the NBA Finals for the first time since 2000. And here to talk with me about this game is the one and only Michael J. Facci. Facci, before we get any further, I'm just going to ask you, how is that pep in the step?
I don't know what's come over me right now, but I got that up 3-1 pep. That one win away from going to the NBA Finals pep in the step. I never had this pep before. The we could close them out on Thursday. Pep in the step. That we could be playing for an NBA championship type of pep in the step. That's what I got going on right now.
This was a game the Pacers desperately needed to win. You could call it a must-win. You don't have to call it a must-win, but the Pacers took care of business.
It was important.
And I know you're going to have a guest on here in our second segment, Baraheni from The Athletic, and you guys are going to dive into a lot of this. But I think we just need to take a few minutes here in this opening, since you allowed me to come on and celebrate this game with you, to talk about the special performance we saw tonight from Tyrese Haliburton. I mean, this is incredible stuff that Tyrese did, and I understand that Rick Carlisle does not want this to become an individual thing, and it's about the team. And look, that's all well and fine, but without this individual performance, this team does not win this game. So just an incredible performance from Tyrese, and my goodness, Stephen A. Smith has said 3 times now in less than a week, this guy is not a superstar, and he was voted the most overrated player in the league. Well, he's just proven everybody wrong each and every game.
Each and every game, this is an absolute superstar that we are watching right now. The stat line that he put up, historic, never been done before. I mean, just truly, 30 points, there's 32 points, 15 assists, over 10 rebounds,
12 rebounds, 4
12
steals,
boards,
0 turnovers.
I made 3, all of it. It's never been done in NBA history, not even the playoffs. And, my guest, S and I, we'll get into this and, we'll touch on all that, what Stephen A said. He's wrong. He's wrong. And I know that you had a great tweet out there talking about how it's everywhere. You go on social media, YouTube, whatever it is, they're trying to drive that narrative. And it's wrong. No, you could be a Knicks fan like Stephen A Smith is, but don't discount greatness. And what Tyrese Haliburton is doing now, it is greatness. He was huge in game 1. We saw what this team's like when he kind of underperforms. When Tyrese Haliburton is on, there is no touching these Indiana Pacers. And on a night like tonight, where he had 15 assists and 0 turnovers, you look on the other side, and it's the New York Knicks with 17 assists and 17 turnovers.
Yep.
That right there shows the brilliance of this man.
I mean, it was just one of those things where the Pacers at times still allowed the Knicks to dictate the pace, and they would get themselves back into it that way. But once Haliburton was on the floor, he was making sure that that did not happen. And I think we talked about that after game 3. They did not play their pace, and they played the Knicks style of play mostly in the second half. And I felt like Tyrese just took it upon his shoulders to make sure that was not going to happen. And so I give him a lot of credit, but I also want to say that Pascal Siakam was unbelievable in this game, Facci. The Pacers were getting close to, on the brink of potentially letting the Knicks get back into this in the fourth quarter. Rick Carlisle was trying to manage the minutes correctly to make sure that, everybody was fully ready to go for that final stretch. All of a sudden, they pull Pascal for a minute. They bring him back in. He hits that big 3 in the corner. And it just kind of felt like at that moment, okay, things were getting tight. Fans started to stand up to cheer defense because they knew the Knicks were about to just, come back in. Or they were making hellacious shots after shot. And I just felt like the way that Pascal kind of came in and calmed the storm a little bit, it just kind of shows you like these two together when they are on like this. We have not really seen this in the playoffs. These two together playing at their best. Wow, when they do that, they are incredibly special.
S and I were talking about, I don't know when Tyrese and Siakam have scored 30 or more in a game together. That is something that I don't know, maybe this year, maybe it's happened once, maybe not even. I'm not 100% sure, but it's something special that when those two have it going, you just can't stop this team. You really can't. Siakam, that 3 that you mentioned, it was at a time where I felt like the Pacers offense was starting to look like the offense of the fourth quarter of the previous game, where Shot clock starting to wind down. You're just kind of passing off a grenade to someone to be like, hey, get a shot up. We got nothing going. Siakam was cool, calm, collected, 11 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, this is a man who's been there before. And for Pascal Siakam to potentially be going back to the NBA Finals, and when you make that type of trade, this is everything that you hoped for and more. And he has over-delivered.
Over-delivered is a great way to put it. And I will just say this as we kind of continue to just quickly go through some of these guys in the lineup that really stood out. What a gutsy performance from Aaron Nesmith.
Yes.
Questionable before this game. And my goodness, if he does not play in this game, the Pacers do not win it. I know that probably does seem like a bit of a hot take, but I don't think it is. The way that he defends Brunson, nobody else is capable of doing that on this team. The way he got started with those 2 big threes, that massive dunk in transition. Aaron Nesmith, the fans were just through the roof cheering for him when the starting lineups were announced. He's the second guy in the starting 5. It always starts out with Pascal, then they go Aaron, then they go Miles, then they go Drew, then they close out with Tyrese. Aaron Nesmith got a massive cheer, and I think people are really starting to realize just how important and special he is to what this team does. And I just felt like his resiliency tonight, shooting-wise, I don't even know what he shot overall, but I just feel like he had so many big buckets in this game that it was just like, wow. And then the way that he defended Brunson, I know Brunson got going, but still, it's just he wore him down. And I think that the wear-down effect was real in this game. Karl-Anthony Towns was gassed at points, and I think the Pacers were just able to take advantage of that and push a little bit longer on that gas, and the Knicks didn't have enough to keep up.
Dog. That's exactly what he is. That's exactly what he was. 16 points. He was on 5 of 9 shooting, but the hustle was just nonstop. He took a charge late in this game that got me fired up.
That was a great play.
It was huge. For him to take that charge, it was like the loudest chant I could do without making any noise, just so I wouldn't wake my kids. I was just like this, Aaron Nesmith. Like, you're right, but I said it before. It's like we don't win this game without him. What he brings on both sides of the ball, you would have never thought that he would be this essential to what this team's going to do or their chances of really winning it all. If he doesn't play this game, even if they rest him for one game, we might be going back to New York with a tied series. He gave everything he had. I saw James Boyd tweeted out of asking Nesmith what it took to be ready for this game. He said everything. Round clock treatment. This guy we'll never know what he had to do to get ready, but this man did everything he could do to be ready for this game. And I don't think he skipped a beat in the 32 minutes he played.
No, he looked good, and he looked good in warm-ups, and he always does this thing after he's done with his warm-ups where he runs back to the locker room. I don't know if it's because he pushes his time from when he has to be there for the meeting because he's the last guy to go out there and shoot, but he was like sprinting back, and I was like, all right, he looks pretty good sprinting. He doesn't look like he's like walking gingerly or anything like that. But Carlisle did say after the game that he was hooked up to a lot of different machines, just trying to work it out, make sure that he was okay because he was really sore the day before. He also said that his mom is in town and that she was in charge of constantly changing his ice pack for him. So, Mama knows best, right? Mama knows best, and that's what we did. But last thing here, and I know you guys would probably touch on this because there's no doubt in my mind that you should have. Benedict Mathurin.
Oh my God, we'll do it again. Let's touch on it again. Let's give the man some flowers because we talked about it. We called it like it was. He was rough at times in this series, but this is the type of performance we've been waiting for. The whole fan base has said, just still give him a chance. And sometimes we haven't even seen him in the second half. Mathurin plays just under 13 minutes and drops 20 off the bench, attacks the rim nonstop. This is what we've been waiting for, and I feel like he made the most of this opportunity.
11 free throws, Facci. I think he led the team in free throw attempts, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah, it's crazy to me because when he can do this, it's like, why can't he do this consistently? But I will say, I like the way that Rick has utilized the way that he wants to play Mathurin. It's like, okay, I don't trust you enough right now to give you 25 minutes a game, but I'm going to see what you can do as kind of our 10th man in the rotation right now. And what does he do? He comes in the first quarter and scores 2 buckets back to back. And it's just like, okay, this guy is focused. And when he is going downhill and doing what he does best, that's when this team is at their best. And I understand that Mathurin needs to be a better passer at times, but he made some nice kickouts in this game as well. I just felt like when he started putting pressure on the Knicks, and I said this in our preview podcast that I did with Carson and David, I said, look, if Nesmith can't go, The case you can make for Mathurin starting is that it makes Jalen Brunson have to guard somebody, whether it's him or Nembhard.
Sure.
And let's be honest, Nembhard did not have a great game. Nembhard was not very good in this game, and that makes me wonder, is Nembhard going to be a road dog again, just like he was in Cleveland in Game 5 when the Pacers were trying to close it out? I don't know, but for whatever reason, Nembhard's not been playing at the level that you need him to play. Mathurin outplayed Nembhard tonight in
Definitely.
a much, much shorter amount of time, too. So it's just, that you need this type of player and what he brings to the table to be the best version of yourself. They can win in spite of him not doing that. But when he does that, they are so much tougher to guard, tougher to beat. And it just almost makes you feel like you have a sixth starter out there when he plays like that offensively. Defensively, we know that he's not a great defender. The Brunson on-ball defense was not my favorite, but he shouldn't really have to do that outside of a play or two. So from what he gave you tonight, if he can expand upon that, maybe not in the total points, but just the way that he played, the way he impacted the game, that's going to be huge moving forward.
This was the brilliance of Benn Mathurin. Everything that you know that when he's playing to his full potential offensively, it's like this is what he can do. And I think in the third quarter, he was monumental to what the Pacers were trying to do, and they were trying to still keep that lead and or build on it. And I felt like he gave them really big minutes off the bench, and the bench has been struggling at times. I mean, you look at for Benn Mathurin, huge game. Outside of that, you can make an argument that Tony Bradley might have been the one delivering. I mean, look, Tony Bradley had some moments in this game because not a lot of other guys really did. And that's the type of performance. It was who was going to step up tonight outside of maybe your main guys. And Benn Mathurin was indeed that guy.
Facci, I know we've already said it at the beginning of the show, but I just want to reiterate this. The Indiana Pacers are one win away from making the NBA Finals. I was driving to the arena tonight in my truck, and as I'm pulling into the parking garage before I go into the building, I'm thinking to myself, when is the last time that we're gonna, is this the last time we'll ever be in this position, right? It's just like you never know, because look how long it took this team to get to the finals when they had Reggie. It took them 13 years since Reggie was drafted to get there, and they never got back. And I'm thinking to myself, how special of a moment is this? I want to live in this moment and just take it all in game by game, because you don't always get this opportunity, and it's not over, right? The Knicks they've been very competitive in this series, even though they've lost 3 or 4. They are very capable of making this a series. All they have to do is really, win one game at a time, and whatever can happen. But I'm just saying, I'm just living in the moment, because it is so surreal. The fact that the Pacers are 75% of the way there. They are one win away from getting back to the NBA Finals for the first time in 25 years. Man, Chris Jericho, WWE wrestler. What is that one thing he said there for a while? He said, "Drink it in, man," And I just like that's kind of what I need to do at this point. I felt like making a WWE reference with Triple H in the building.
Hey.
Shook his hand tonight. I wasn't afraid to shake it. I just said, "Hey, Triple H, how are you?" Shook his hand. Pat McAfee was there. Fist bumped him. I mean, what's going on, brother?
Ben Stiller was tweeting at you.
I saw that. What the heck, man?
Look, Ben Stiller just sliding in on the tweet. I mean, the celebs were out and about. It was that type of environment. But, what I loved to see most was the Pacer greats really coming together. I mean, I loved seeing, and S and I talked about like Danny Granger and Jermaine O'Neal and Lance Stevenson and just, all these other guys that we grew up watching, to see them there in a big win like this, being able to get to the finals where a lot of those guys didn't ever get to play in, that's just awesome. So yeah, this team is one win away from an NBA Finals. It means the world to many of us. I mean, what this also means, and I've said it before and I will say it again, if the Indiana Pacers get this done and they go to the NBA Finals, I am coming to Indiana and you and I are reuniting. All right. For those of you that have been listening to this, Alex and I have only met one time in person. But if the Pacers get the job done and we go to the NBA Finals, I will be buying a ticket to, probably Game 3. I would imagine that would be, and I cannot wait to have that opportunity to be able to, hang with you again, to be able to watch this team, to be able to meet a lot of listeners of the show. It would truly mean everything to me.
I want to say shout out to Cammie. I met Cammie tonight before the game. That's, another celebrity in the building, right? Not just Paul Levesque and Pat McAfee, right? I met my man Cammie. I mean, how cool is that? So, a Pacer legend in the building, and he's staying for the Game 5 Friday night watch party. That's going to be at Gainbridge Fieldhouse too. So just a really cool night. Obviously, I know we need to get things wrapped up here. It's getting close to 1 o'clock, and Facci waited up for me for about 30 minutes before I got home from media stuff. So appreciate that. But let's go ahead and give our player awards as we close out this first segment before you and S come on and kind of carry the load for this show. But MVP of the game, El Dano's MVP. I mean, is it Tony Bradley?
Yeah, it might not be Tony, but it was close. But look, we're going to go Tyrese Haliburton on the historic performance, a legacy adding performance. Like, just put this on the resume. He's already had plenty of game winners. But on a night like tonight, like with Pops back in the building, John Haliburton back, gives a little extra boost to Tyrese. And what a performance it was.
Yeah, he was unreal, Facci. That's why we had to start out with him. I mean, just a gutsy performance from Tyrese. And this is what makes a star a star. I mean, this is what separates the cream from the crop. And I just absolutely love the way that he played. No doubt about it. He is the MVP for the clutch player of the game. I kind of hinted at it earlier when I said he came into the game and hit a big three to kind of make this, close things out and kind of quiet the storm a little bit, calm the storm. I feel like Pascal Siakam just got so many timely buckets for the Pacers when they needed them. And I feel like whether it was the first, second, or third quarter, like he just made so many clutch buckets to keep the Knicks from going on massive runs. And I know Tyrese did the same thing as well, but I want to give Pascal his flowers, and I feel like he should be our clutch player of the game.
He deserves it, and it was a big three. And there might have been 5-6 minutes left when he hit that three. So yeah, it wasn't like in the real pure clutch time. But like I said, 11 points in the fourth quarter. Tyrese didn't. I mean, Siakam didn't just like disappear in this game. He was steady throughout, and I think that he was someone that, look, when you got him getting up 21 shots and he hits 11 of them, you're going to take that all day. I thought Siakam was awesome in this game.
All righty, let's go with our Feisty Foster player of the game. Who are you going with?
I mean, the dog himself, Aaron Nesmith, was just awesome. I mean, like we talked about the charge, it was just great. That's not the only time he hit the floor tonight. I feel like he just gave Brunson everything he had. At times, he was guarding Cat, whatever. It didn't matter who it was, didn't matter what size he was giving up. He was a plus 20 in this game that led every single player, and that's on a bum or a hurt ankle. So just a gutsy performance by Aaron Nesmith.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with giving him that one. I definitely think he's deserving of one of our awards tonight. Maybe our defensive player of the game should have been Aaron Nesmith. Maybe we could go with our Feisty Foster being a guy off the bench and Benedict Mathurin. Would you be opposed to doing that?
I would not be opposed to that because, look, I think Aaron Nesmith brought it on defense. I think the feistiness, look, making 12 to 13 minutes in this game, Ben made the most of them. He really did. He was hitting the floor at times. Just, you could always see he's always getting in it with someone. At times he was tangled up with Brunson. I could see, Mathurin goes to the free throw line and Brunson's mouthing off something to Mathurin, but like he lives for that. He loves to just get in the heads of the opposing defense. And I just felt like, man, when you talk about feisty is attacking the rim nonstop, getting the free throw line 11 times, making 10 of them. Love it.
Yeah, this felt like the first time that Benn Mathurin really showed up to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like, he's very capable. And that's why, like, when I tweeted it out yesterday, I'm like, this is a huge opportunity for him if he can play. Because, I mean, if Nesmith can't play, I think it's a huge opportunity for a guy like Mathurin who can do something special. We know what he's capable of doing. Like, we've seen him put up 38 points against this team in the regular season. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but the fact that he got to the free throw line, he was just relentless at attacking the rim and didn't take no for an answer and got Josh Hart in foul trouble. Josh Hart fouls out in this game, and it was fun to see. A lot of the Pacer fans probably, I think, dislike Josh Hart the most out of any player on the Knicks, and so they were giving him some extra boos every time he pretty much touched the basketball. So, I don't really know if it matters that much. Maybe it goes back to the Reggie thing from last year when he said they're saying F you, Reggie, right? And Reggie said, God don't like ugly. After the series is over, he said, enjoy Cancun, I didn't get to hear the broadcast much tonight, but how were the guys on the TNT call in terms of like what they were saying about the Pacers?
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad tonight. I still think there's always that bit of like, what do the Knicks have to do to get back into this? And that's really what I'm interested to see is like, is this enough? Like on a night like tonight, I felt like it wasn't bad at all. It wasn't. But like moving forward, is it enough to gain the respect of the nation to say, look at the Pacers, or is this going to still be, what do the Knicks have to do to come back from down 3-1? Like, I want to know how they frame it. And unfortunately, I feel like it's probably going to be the second part. What do the Knicks have to do to be able to, come back in this series? And no, it should be that, are the Pacers better than everyone thought? Or like, is Tyrese a superstar? Like, change the narrative. Even if you don't, whatever. We're still going to do what we do. We're underdogs. That's who we are. But man, right now, I love this team. I love what everyone from top to bottom is bringing to the table. Whether you're Tony Bradley making the most of an opportunity, whether you're Mathurin playing a handful of minutes, whether you're Haliburton under the brightest lights, and they even said, "Hey, look, he's struggling at home." Ooh, man, he looked good tonight. He looked good, and this team, they got it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for the first segment here of Setting the Pace. Hope you guys stay tuned for the second segment. I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. Baraheni did join me for a preview of Pacers Cavaliers from an NBA perspective, and he actually picked the Pacers to beat the Cavs. He was one of the few that actually thought the Pacers could hang with the Cavaliers. So he obviously covers the Toronto Raptors as well as the NBA, and so he's very familiar with Pascal and OG. So I'm sure he's heavily invested in this series. And of course, Precious Achiuwa is from Toronto as well. He got some minutes tonight for the first time. It seems like Rick Carlisle manifested that. So I think you guys are going to enjoy that. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And you know what? We just can't get enough of this content. I will say this one more thing. Facci, if you remember last year, we had a Setting the Pace sandwich at Ripple Bagel Deli.
Yes, we did.
Todd, who is the owner of Ripple Bagel Deli, actually messaged me yesterday before today's game and said, you know what? He said, I brought the Setting the Pace sandwich back during this run. And he said he ran out of garlic bagels. He ran out of salami, I believe it was. And so everything that we had on the sandwich, he said he was running out of ingredients because people are just buying the Setting the Pace sandwich out in Broad Ripple, Indiana. So I just want to give Todd and Ripple Bagel Deli a shout out. And if you get the Setting the Pace sandwich and you're listening to this, let them know that, you're a big fan of the show as well. So thought that was really cool. But anyway, anything else you want to add before I take it to a break?
Hey, well, when we make the NBA Finals, I'm gonna have to try that sandwich in person. Looking forward to that. And just, hey, everyone that's been tuned in along this ride, we ain't done yet. You gotta tune in because the next game might just be that we're going to the NBA Finals pod. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned, but don't change the channel because we're coming right back with Baraheni right after this.
Pacer Nation, what is going on? I am your boy Mike Facci, bringing you another episode of Setting the Pace, your go-to Pacers podcast, sponsored by the Blue Wire and Chat BCC. I'm joined today by Baraheni of The Athletic. Welcome back and talk to me about these Indiana Pacers right now.
My God, I want to throw the question back at you. How about you talk to me about your Indiana Pacers? I saw George Hill courtside, Jermaine O'Neal courtside. It was awesome.
My heart was warm because it wasn't just that. It's Danny Granger, who it felt like they had a great relationship with. It's just everyone. Like Lance Stevenson was in the building. You even had, the celebs came out. You could argue were they there for the Knicks, were they there for the Pacers. It doesn't matter. Everybody was at Gainbridge Fieldhouse tonight. It was awesome. Yeah. Indiana Pacers lead 3-1. Pacer Mania absolutely running wild right now. And I'm not going to lie, there was a drip of sweat going into this game. If the Knicks win, they tie it up 2-2. Does it feel like all momentum has shifted? Maybe. Right. But one man had other plans, and that's Tyrese Haliburton. Before I kick it over to you, Stephen A. Smith has recently said and doubled down that Tyrese Haliburton is not a superstar. We've seen the clutch plays now. He's had 3-game winners in just these playoffs this year. Now you see a performance like tonight. You tell me. Feel free to disagree. What do you think?
Oh, man. Stephen A. Smith. What a guy. Look, Tyrese Haliburton is undoubtedly a superstar. And he is a superstar for these Indiana Pacers. If you look at the way that tonight was miraculous, a Herculean type of effort from him. 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds, 4 steals, and doing it all, as you know, Facci, with 0 turnovers. That is the Tyrese Haliburton style. The fact that he is able to churn out such an incredible offense, and for the Pacers to play at the pace that they do, and he still plays mistake-free basketball. Like, that is absurd. That isn't regular. That's not usual, and that's the mark of a superstar right there, having something so unique to what you can do on the court.
Yeah, that stat line that you've said, just in case people haven't read social media or anything, that stat line has never been done before. So as it relates to the playoffs, he was the first player in NBA history for the playoffs with 30, at least 30 points, 10 boards, 15 assists, 0 turnovers. Great. He's the first player in NBA history when you tie in 5 made threes and 0 turnovers. And I know there's a stat for everything these days, but just talk about the magnitude of this type of performance that put up that stat line when your team needs it most. I was not ready to hit the panic button, but when they blew last game, blew a 20-point lead in there, I went, now, you know what? If you don't take care of business next game, it might be over. Tyrese puts this team on his back from the beginning and just has an incredible game. Indiana never had to look back. They never trailed by more than 2 points in this game. They were in control, and I feel like Tyrese Haliburton now is becoming more of that household name that people can say, hey, you could hate him. You could maybe try and say he's overrated, but you can't actually mean that because there's nothing overrated about this man.
I think it's gotten to the point where he is a household name, and I think he enjoys the fact that people might hate him or feel he's overrated.
He's
I think
feeding
it
off of it.
feels, he's feeding off of it. It fuels him. You could tell that I mean, like what he overrate that, right? That was the tweet that he had a while ago. Like that's sort of the MO of Haliburton, and I know he's a big wrestling fan, and you kind of see some of the wrestling energy. He's really good at being the heel.
Yep, Triple H in the building tonight.
Triple H was in the building, man.
That says a lot. It really does.
Spitting out my water. It was awesome. So I think that's what makes Hallie so unique is the fact that like he is 100% willing to be the heel for you, and obviously the on-court basketball stuff that he brought tonight, the playmaking is second to none in the NBA. I mean, maybe Jokic is probably the only playmaker in the NBA.
Multiple-time MVP.
Yeah, you got to tip your hat to him. But as far as the point guard position goes, he's arguably the best playmaker out there. And when it comes to what he can do as a driver, I thought that's what was really impressive in this game, putting pressure on the Knicks defense. The Knicks unfortunately had a matador type of defense tonight. I thought they just were not a good defensive team whatsoever, especially when Jalen Brunson was on the floor. But that's a different conversation. Haliburton was taking advantage of that. He was thriving. He was getting to the basket, finishing there. He had a couple of huge threes in that first half where you're like, what is going on? Especially in that first quarter when it was him and Brunson going back and forth. You're like, whoa, we're in for a show. And man, just a very, very special performance from Hallie.
It really was. And I just feel like he's already cementing himself as an all-time Pacer. And, look, we talked about we're in the building. Jermaine O'Neal, that's my guy. That's a 6-time All-Star. Reggie Miller is a 5-time All-Star. Look, those guys, obviously Reggie played in NBA Finals, but like what Haliburton's able to do so early on just makes you be able to say, like, this man.
Wait, Reggie Miller has fewer All-Stars than
Jermaine O'Neal. Yes, he does.
Nuts.
I know. Yeah, it is pretty crazy. It is pretty crazy.
Wow, J.O. Raptors legend. That's crazy.
Yeah, right. I got the Jermaine O'Neal Raptors jersey. I do have that. I've tried to collect every Jermaine O'Neal jersey I can get. Some of them I don't even know if they made. I mean, I can't find a Jermaine O'Neal Suns jersey, Celtics jersey, Warriors jersey. I'm still on the lookout. But, hey, I digress. But, I just think that when it's all said and done, he could go down as the greatest Pacer of all time. A lot of time left in his career. I don't mean any disrespect to Reggie Miller or anything of that sort, but it just feels like you could see the Pacers now back-to-back conference finals, one win away from the NBA Finals. This is right now, look, you went through something probably similar with the Raptors when they went on that run.
For sure.
To me and every other Pacer fan, is a magical run right now that we are not taking for granted. There's been plenty of seasons where we've been good, just like the Raptors were.
I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about what you're explaining right now.
It means the world to all of us. And when you look from top to bottom, one guy I want to give the flowers to, Aaron Nesmith. We didn't know if he was going to play tonight. He was ruled as a game time decision, and I felt like I don't want to, overemphasize Aaron Nesmith or anything, but I knew if Aaron Nesmith didn't play this game, the Pacers weren't going to win this game. That is the Jalen Brunson, I can't say stopper, the Jalen Brunson guarder. That is the man that is going to give you everything, heart and soul. You saw what he did in game 1, 20 points in a 5-minute span of the fourth quarter. Tonight, Aaron Nesmith gives you 16 points. He's a plus 20, which led every single player in this game. He took a charge late. He's hitting threes. He's doing everything, all on a hurt ankle. I mean, when you're talking about heart, this is a guy that probably could have missed this game. It's a quick turnaround. You're playing every other night. What did you like to see out of an Aaron Nesmith who has the tough assignment of guarding Brunson, but is also producing on the offensive end?
Honestly, I thought he looked pretty good on an ankle. I thought he looked pretty mobile, was moving his feet pretty quickly, hit his shots. You think of like the first quarter, he hit 2 threes to really ignite the Pacers there, and just consistently was a guy who was able to guard, be a big body. He's one of those guys that I think he's only like 6'4" or 6'5". By the way, we have the same Awala.
Great.
Yeah,
great
he's about 6'4" or 6'5", but he guards so much bigger than his size. And so he can be a guy who can be physical with the wings or the bigs of the Knicks. And like, he's just awesome. He's a spark plug in a lot of ways. Can I give you a shout out back to another player that I want to give?
Absolutely. Oh, I want you to, Jay. This ain't my show. This is our show tonight. You keep it coming.
Look, Benedict Mathurin, man.
He's
wow.
gotta get his flowers.
What a game.
This was the breakout performance for him. I don't mean to be too harsh, but he was absolutely terrible for the first 3 games. Absolutely.
The Eastern Conference Finals.
He was.
Just not good at all and wasn't giving them anything defensively, was sort of lost out there offensively too, forcing the issue. That was not the case tonight. I mean, 20 points in 12 minutes, and he did it in a way where it was like attacking on cuts, working off ball, knocking down, kind of shots, getting in and around the basket. I thought he had 2 really nice passes in that fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One, the kick out to Pascal Siakam in transition,
nice
and then
3.
another one where he fed Pascal in the post. It's like Pascal actually, when they were heading to timeout, he screamed and he yelled, "Yeah, that's how you pass the ball."
Yep.
And obviously that's the thing with Mathurin. It's like, is he going to get his teammates involved? I thought that was an awesome game from him, man. Kudos to him. Flowers to Benn Mathurin.
He had been someone that, I mean, if we just put it this way, the last 2 games, he had 2 points combined. He didn't make a field goal. So he had not been playing in the second half or really the fourth quarter. And this is a guy that, against the Knicks in the regular season, averaged over 25 points per game. He had a 38-point game earlier in the season against the Knicks. So we felt like he would be more of a factor, but he really was playing a handful of minutes, maybe about 8 minutes, 10 minutes. Like you said, he plays about 12 and a half minutes tonight, but he really made the most of it. And I felt like for him to have 20 points off the bench, I thought was like a big X factor in this game. He had, I want to say it might have been, I don't know, it was like 8 or 12 points, in that third quarter, where he really like got it going in a time where Knicks and Pacers were kind of going a little bit, anything could happen in this quarter. And I felt like Mathurin was just putting that pressure on the rim. 11 free throw attempts, by far the most of any Pacer. I mean, he was putting up Jalen Brunson-like free throw numbers in 12 minutes. Think about that.
We made it. It's been, 15 minutes and we got to the conversation.
He was flipping and flopping, but look, if you can put up 11 free throws in 12 minutes and combat Jalen Brunson, putting up 12 free throws in 37 minutes, hey, you did something real good. So I was happy with Mathurin's performance, and I think this is a vote of confidence to Carlisle and Mathurin to say, hey, look, let's get him a few more minutes, because if we want to be at our best, Mathurin puts the pressure on the rim like no other Pacer does.
Yeah, and look, man, they're a deeper and more athletic team when he's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
He fuels their transition game in a big way. I think of the second unit offense, right, with Obi Toppin and Benedict Mathurin and TJ McConnell kind of like running the show. It's awesome to watch those 3 work in a lot of ways. And, kudos to Obi Toppin, by the way, hit the dagger in this game.
Big.
That was
big.
really big one. Look, you can kind of go up and down this roster and give credit to a lot of guys tonight. Again, Pascal Siakam, 30 points, was dominant. I think that was like the second time in this postseason where Hallie and another guy ended up with 60-plus points. It was Nesmith and Hallie in game 1, and now it's Pascal and Hallie in game 4. And Pascal has just been awesome in this playoff run, man. I mean, I remember us talking about what it means to acquire Pascal Siakam way back when, right?
Yep, I do remember that. It's been some time now.
It has been some time, and I think he has fully adopted the Pacers system. He is so good at playing in transition, and he feeds into all of the urges and all of the things that Indiana loves to do on the offensive end. He completes them defensively, and I think like they obviously wouldn't be here in this situation without him.
Not at all.
Looking at what he can do for them as this sort of change up offensively to go to the post, a guy who can hunt out isolations in the post and kind of hunt out mismatches and go one-on-one. He's been so important when things bog down that in that fourth quarter, you're like, all right, man, Knicks are kind of clawing back. Where's Pascal? Let's get a shot for Pascal. Let's get him going. And that's what he provides for this Pacers team. So like you can go up and down this game, this box score right now, and be impressed with the Indiana Pacers. From an outside perspective, Facci, like I have loved watching this Pacers team, especially, post January when their defense started to really turn up. And you saw Nembhard and Nesmith and their presence really activating this team. It was a revelation, man. And they've genuinely been one of the best teams in the NBA through 2025. They absolutely deserve to be one game away from the NBA Finals.
And that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is like dating back to, post, the in-season tournament, it's OKC and then it's Indiana Pacers in terms of wins. Yeah. These teams, it's not a fluke. This is not like you might have the 4 seed next to the Pacers name, but that's because they got off to a 10-15 start. Like they were a rough team early on through the first 25 games. They've been a really good team since, middle of December, early January. It's been awesome. Going back to your point on Pascal Siakam, he had 19 points going into the fourth, which means that he poured in 11 points in that fourth quarter. I felt like last game, 2 games ago,
2 big threes in that fourth, too.
Big. I mean, a couple of games ago, Siakam just goes off against the Knicks. He's huge, has a playoff career high. I think poured in like 39 points. And then last game, I felt like they just didn't really get him going enough. I remember he had 9 points going into the fourth quarter, and I'm like, what? This is a guy that scored 16 points in the first of the previous game. How does he have 9 points through 3 quarters? I felt like tonight Siakam was involved consistently. 21 shots. You got to get him his shots. I hate when they go away from him where he plays really good in the first half and then disappears in the second. That was not the case. So Siakam, he can score in the post. He loves a good mid-ranger, a turnaround, and he can hit it from 3. Tonight he was 3 of 4 from 3. Hit his free throws. He was 5 of 6. That's been a little questionable at times. I felt like Siakam was everything you could have asked for when you traded for him. So you got your big 2 in Haliburton and Siakam to give you everything. I mean, it's very rare for them to be able to score 30 each. I'd have to look and see how many times that's happened this year. I don't know if it has. I could be wrong. Maybe it's happened one other time, but this is a great performance by both of your top guys. So, this is probably what Pacer fans envision in a perfect world is, Haliburton's giving you a killer game. Siakam's giving you a killer game. Then you got Mathurin, producing. Like, it's everything you could ask for. So I feel like this was a night where, Nembhard was off. Turner was a little bit quiet at times and struggling guarding Cat. But when your top 2 guys really come through like that, it's hard to beat this team when you're getting a balanced effort elsewhere.
Yeah, man. And it's sort of a look into team building in the modern NBA, right? You think of this Pacers team, they really, I mean, this from being a fan, they don't like to tank. They don't tank.
Never. Oh, man.
And so being able to cultivate this type of roster that's ending up in the NBA Finals without really getting any sort of lottery pick in a small market is wildly impressive because it's just about being smart with your transactions. Looking back at the Domantas Sabonis Tyrese Haliburton trade, and my God, how has that kind of flipped?
Changed everything.
It changed absolutely everything, and Haliburton has turned into one of the best, a superstar. Shout out to Stephen A. Smith. Being able to do this and win on the margins. You think of the Obi Toppin trade and trading him for a couple of second-round picks. You think of drafting, obviously, Benn Mathurin where they drafted him. You think of, obviously, Andrew Nembhard being a guy who was,
second-round pick.
second round pick, a guy the Raptors very much so liked and wanted to pick and didn't get a chance to because you got snagged him.
Oh, yeah.
Like that, being smart with the picks that you have, being advantageous with the trades that you make in Aaron Nesmith and an Obi Toppin, kind of these distressed assets that needed more opportunity, and nailing down the final piece of the puzzle, which was Pascal Siakam, and adding that secondary guy. It's just a testament to the way this Pacers team has been able to build what is a finals team now. And it's beautiful to watch. It honestly is. And like, man, I'm excited for you. You got your J.O. jersey on, it's vibing out. It's awesome to watch.
Hey, look, it's just life is good right now. I mean, when you look at this team, I mean, just a couple things like, talk about Andrew Nembhard. Hey, we drafted Nembhard when you traded Karis LeVert. That was a second round pick that we got included from Cleveland. So
there you go.
Hey, look, that works out. And then just overall, Aaron Nesmith. I mean, everybody laughed in our face. Oh my God, that's what they traded Brogdon for. Like, look at me, he's played so above his size right now, which we talked about earlier. Aaron Nesmith, I would have never thought when they made that trade would be such a pivotal point of NBA Finals run. And I know, yes, it hasn't happened yet. Oh my God, I got to make sure I don't jinx it, knock on wood. But teams win 95% of the time when they're up 3-1. I want to believe. I don't want to hold back. I want this to be the run. Like, our listeners know, but like, I have a son who's now 6 weeks old. All he knows is that Pacer NBA Finals run. I mean, what a life this kid's living.
Hey, maybe the kid is the good luck. I'm just saying.
I think so. We're putting on the Pacer shirt at night. Like,
yeah, man. Look, Raptors,
all we can ask.
I know this from the Raptors 2019 run. Things really changed when Fred VanVleet ended up having a baby. And so it's, babies do miraculous things to playoff runs, Facci. What can I say?
They really do. I mean, my daughter's about to turn 2, and when I look at this, hey, 2, she's only seen 2 seasons. She's seen back-to-back conference finals. I don't know what it is, but I changed the fate of this team with my children. They're whatever, however I got to look at it, they
got to thank you. You need an honorary ring if
they
win an NBA
maybe. And you know what? Look, I said last time I didn't want to jinx things, but like going through this run, I mean, I've started to look at this and be like, hey, I've waited my whole life for a Pacers championship run. I've looked into flights and I've looked into hotels and then I started to anytime the game got closer to night, I started going, what was I thinking? How could I do this? I mean, look, it's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden you win this game, and it's just like, man, this type of run,
victory.
It means everything. But I thought that the Knicks were in trouble in this game when the Knicks were trying to play Pacer-style basketball. You talked about it early on. It was a shootout. It was run and gun. But the thing is that the Pacers just do it better. In terms of fast break points, they had, I believe it was a 22-9 advantage in this game. So it was 22-9 advantage for Indiana. That sounds like Pacers basketball. Indiana also got it done in the paint. They're never going to win the free throw battle. It's just never going to happen. Being a smaller market team, you tend to not really get the calls. I'm not going to blame the refs in this. I'm just saying that's nothing new for the Pacers. But if you can play fast, you could play your style. Don't play to not lose. That's what they did last game, which bit them in the butt, was that they got too conservative. They went up 20 and they started to slow it down. Don't try and lose. Instead, you need to play to win. And I felt like in this game, the Pacers were playing to win, and it showed.
Yeah, and a lot of that was the second half effort of them, kind of not playing prevent offense was Haliburton. I mean, he took 23 shots tonight. His aggression was massive.
It's not always like that.
It isn't always like that. And it's a credit to him to kind of being like, nah, man, this is an opportunity. We can't waste this opportunity of going up 3-1. To your point about transition, the Knicks had 17 turnovers. And I think that's what comes with playing at the pace that Indiana plays at, but not having the facilities to do that, right? They just aren't able to move the ball as well as Indiana does. They don't have the lead ball handler or playmaker that Indiana does. And Haliburton, Brunson is more of a score-first guard in that regard. When you look at what the Knicks can do, it's like slow down the pace. We want to play at a slow and methodical pace, and we want you to play at that pace as well. They did not play into that tonight. They ran with the Pacers, and I think from the get-go, it was a disaster-type situation because it was like, man, they're going to get tired. By the fourth quarter, it's going to be a long night for this Knicks team. Yes, they fought back. I think they got it to within 4 or 6 points in that fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Free throws absolutely helped in this case, no question. Foul calls and all that type of stuff. But I ultimately think like the Pacers engine just keeps humming. And it's funny because it's Pacers and
hey, look, in Indy 500 just happened. And, it happened on the wrong day because the Pacers lost that day, and historically they have a bad record when that happens. But you talk about not having that lead ball handler in this. The Knicks had 17 turnovers. The Knicks only had 17 assists. So think about that. That is a rough ratio right there.
Totally.
When we had one man on our side who had 15 assists and 0 turnovers. So it just shows the difference that, look, the Pacers had 29 assists, just 11 turnovers. I think it was great. They played a really good first half. I want to say they might have had it might have been like 7 turnovers at halftime, which means they only had 4 in the second half. Like that's awesome. That's what you need to really protect the rock. And I think if you can do those things, like play fast. So they had 5 turnovers at halftime. So look, hey, good game. Very balanced. 5 turnovers in the first half, 6 in the second half. But I feel like they played their style throughout, and I feel like at times the Knicks were trying to get some things going, and they never really could. Like I thought it was a bad matchup for Miles Turner against Karl Anthony Towns, but at times we saw the Pacers switch it up, go a little bit smaller on Towns, so you could be quicker.
Please do that more often.
Yeah,
please stop leaving Miles Turner on an island there next to Karl Anthony Towns.
It has not worked well. No,
it has not. I look from the Knicks' perspective. I guess the thing that I'm curious about right now is that they've found success defensively when it's just one of Jalen Brunson or Karl Anthony Towns.
Yes, correct. Mm-hmm.
When it's both of them, they have not found any source of offense, or any source of defense. They've not been able to get stops. And that's the issue moving forward with this Knicks team long term. It's the issue moving forward with this Knicks team in this series. And I don't know if Tom Thibodeau is going to be willing to stagger these guys as much as it's required. And I honestly don't know if the Knicks have the facilities to stagger these guys as much as it's required going forward. So it's like, how are you going to get stops against this Pacers team? How are you going to stop these drives from Haliburton and Nesmith and Mathurin getting downhill and Pascal doing his thing against mismatches? Like, this is the conundrum that the Knicks find themselves in, where it's like, man, how are we going to collectively get enough stops for us to be able to do this? They went deep into the bench with DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet and still just couldn't pull out the win in this one. So
even smashed the emergency glass, brought out Precious Achiuwa. I mean, look, that man got dusted off. We have not seen him in a bit.
How much did he play? 2.5?
Yeah, it wasn't much, but that's the emergency glass right there. So, they were digging deep, and I think that, Tibbs got a lot of credit for playing a deeper rotation last game. I don't think it really worked out, this time around. I think, it looks like DeLon Wright was a plus 11 in this game. I remember it got called for a really bad double dribble. That was rough at one point. He kind of looked like my toddler when she's doing something that she shouldn't do. Like, he just kind of was like a deer in the headlights and froze, and it was like, yeah, it's a double dribble. Like, you knew it. You showed it on your face. The whole crowd can see it. But, I felt like it's a good starting 5 for the Knicks, but at times I just felt like it becomes a little bit harder if Brunson's playing his type of style and Brunson and Cat are just dominating the ball. It becomes tough for a guy like Bridges to really get involved. I mean, people got to remember, this is a guy that was the Nets' leading scorer. I mean, you could say bad team, someone's got to lead him in points, but he's better than what he's capable at times. He had some shots going late, but I just think it's hard for them to really swing it around and get in a rhythm when sometimes it's a little bit more of iso ball and kind of dominating like that, where you can see a guy like Haliburton manage to get his offensively, but also spread it around. And that is where Brunson's really good if you need a basket, but it's also like you got to get others involved in order to really put the pressure on the defense. And I felt like the Knicks really weren't able to do that consistently.
Yeah, it's a growing moment for Jalen Brunson, man, both defensively and just figuring out how he can be more effective to get his teammates involved. To the Mikal Bridges point, I honestly think Bridges took a lot of bad shots tonight. And
he did.
A lot of them was the fadeaways, kind of.
He's been fading all series.
Yeah, he's been fading all season, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I was at game 1, and I was sitting next to one of my friends, big Knicks fan, and he's like, man, it kills me. He fades on like every shot.
Yeah, he
And then I
really is.
really started to zone in on it, and I'm like, this man is actually fading away on every single shot he
Yeah.
takes, no matter
And
how
he's also
close
like
the
one
rim.
of the longest players in the NBA, and so it's bizarre that he decides to fade away when it's pretty hard to contest him. Like
Yeah.
it would be pretty difficult to contest. So I don't understand it. Yeah, look, it's going to be an issue for this Knicks team to guard. I think that's what it comes down to. I want to ask you something.
You got.
So are they closing this out in 5?
We've closed everyone out in 5. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna stick to my original prediction. I said Pacers in 6.
Okay.
I think that the Knicks will do everything possible to be able to muster up one more win at home. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. If we can beat them in 5, and look, I know how this is gonna be. This is gonna go up on YouTube, and people are gonna say, "Oh my God, Fox doesn't have faith in us." I have plenty of faith. I do, but like. It's not a bad thing to beat a team in the conference finals in 6 games. Just get
Yeah,
it
no,
done.
yeah,
So my guess is that the Pacers get it done in 6, but
right.
I would pay money to be wrong. I want to be able to win this series as soon as possible to be able to get any leg up on OKC, even if it's an extra day or two of rest, extra game planning, whatever it may be. I would like to believe that the Knicks got a little bit more fight left in them, but this series has been mostly Indiana Pacers. I know it was mostly Knicks for, decent amount of game 1. The Pacers were game 2. Hey, game 3, I think Indiana led by 20 or more, bad fourth quarter. This for the most part was all Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, and this is why like the Knicks shouldn't go into this and be too overreactive to what happens in the summer. It's like,
Yeah.
man, they've been involved in every game.
Yeah.
If a couple things bounce a different way, they could
Of course.
they could be up in this series. I predicted before the series started that Pacers would win in 6.
Love it.
I'm cool with that, but I do think we were talking about Haliburton being a heel and all that type of stuff. He's going to relish in the moment of being able to celebrate going to the NBA Finals at Madison Square
Oh,
Garden.
yeah.
I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
can you just imagine that crowd and them getting the Eastern Conference Finals trophy and doing the celebration?
That's hate for life. And you know what?
Yes.
I'm here for it because I saw like a whole thing that they're like, New York Knick rivals or whatever it is, and like they still got Trae Young above Haliburton. I'm like, these teams faced off one time in the playoffs, like one time a couple of years ago, and it's like, come on, man, that was like whatever it was, like the first round or whatever. We're talking about now back-to-back times that Pacers and
Yeah.
Knicks have faced off, and it was Haliburton that.
Man, not only back-to-back times, like 7 times
Oh,
throughout their history, the 90s and all
Oh,
that.
yeah, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I'm talking about just strictly Haliburton
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
and this Knicks team is like Haliburton and the Pacers eliminated the Knicks in Game 7 at the Garden last year. If you do it again, that is hate for life. That they are gonna now say like, yeah, it's Reggie or Haliburton. I think that the cool part's gonna be if you're like, I don't know, maybe 30 years or older. You're a Knicks fan, you're probably like, nah, Reggie Miller, that's the guy I hate the most. If you're
yeah,
probably below the age of 30 and you're a Knicks fan, you're probably like, man, I hate Haliburton. Like
yeah.
that's the guy. And I love that. Every generation's got to have one of those type of players. I grew up hating LeBron. He stopped just about every good run that the Pacers had. But for the previous, generation, it could have been Jordan, or Patrick
Yeah.
Ewing or whatever it may have been. I think for Knicks fans, hey, it's probably going to be Haliburton, but in the end, I am absolutely here for it. This is the run that all this fan base has been waiting for. And I think,
Yeah, man.
you tell me, though, I want to get your opinion on this. Good or bad for the NBA to have Pacers versus Thunder NBA Finals? Let's look at it this way. You got your reigning MVP, the guy who is the MVP right now, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. A lot of people that probably still haven't watched him that much. You got Tyrese Haliburton, who could be the best next point guard in this league for years to come. What are your thoughts?
I think the notion that it would be bad is absolutely
I
ridiculous.
think it's terrible. I don't care what the ratings are going to say. For the casual fan, that's really what matters.
Yeah, I honestly I think the ratings will be fine. I think yes, they are 2 small market teams, and yes, all of that. But like you said, the Thunder just won 68 games. They just have the MVP. They just put up an absurd performance in their own right in Game 4 with their three-headed monster. They absolutely deserve to be on a national stage, right? And they're not going anywhere.
They got a lot of draft picks and a lot of young talent. Like this could be their start of something. And we also kind of hope this is the start of the Pacers. Like these two highly entertaining teams that can score a lot of points. Hey, we're seeing defense from both teams at times, and I just feel like this is like the new flavor of the NBA on these teams. Like where everyone's seen Boston, okay, all right, whatever. Like the Warriors had their run. There's a lot of great young talent that I think is being introduced to the casual fan between last year and this year.
No, it totally is. And I mean, on the Pacers side, again, like I said, they absolutely deserve to be in the NBA Finals. And like this has been one of the best teams in 2025. They've been elite. They're an elite defense. And I feel like people are going to discount them again against OKC because OKC won 68 games and has the MVP and all that type of stuff. And I'm sure you've probably heard it all. But like I wouldn't discount them. I think they can play very well. I think OKC versus Indiana is like oil and water in the sense that you have one team that forces tons of turnovers, tries to get out and running, and one team that rarely turns the ball over and tries to get out and running. It's incredible to watch. If you're a basketball fan, it's going to be a great, great series if it happens. Still 2 games. Still 2 wins left, folks. Just saying. Just put it out there.
I know. And that is true. And look, Minnesota, when they won Game 3, I went, all right, well, if Minnesota wins, Pacers have home court advantage. It's going to be a final. And then Minnesota came up just short last game. So, I think, we imagine that it's probably going to be Pacers versus Thunder. Maybe it gets done in 5 games. Maybe it goes down to 6. Who knows? Whatever happens, we'll find out soon. But, maybe one of the last questions I got for you is, who on this Pacers team has really like impressed you during this Eastern Conference run? Who's really stood out to you as like, wow, that guy actually either got better or he's better than I thought?
Obi Toppin, for sure.
I wasn't expecting that answer.
Yeah, I mean, I could have went with the Haliburton and just been like, man, it's been awesome to watch. And it really has been awesome. He's turned me into such a fan of his game. But I think Obi Toppin is the guy because maybe I would have said Miles Turner too. Maybe I can switch my answer to Miles. But no, I'm going to stick with Obi. Obi has been so timely with the shots that he's hit. And the way that he propels this team in transition is really impressive. I haven't seen a team yet poke and pry at what he can and can't do defensively. That said, I think what he ends up doing for them offensively as a three-point shooter, as a guy who can run and leak out in transition, it's all been so damn impressive. So I think Obi is the guy that I would mention. To me, I liked him before. I kind of love him now as a rotation piece moving forward. So Obi Toppin, that's the guy.
I respect that. Obi getting some flowers. I love that. I'm going to go with Aaron Nesmith. I just think that Aaron Nesmith is someone that, like, a lot of when the Pacers struggled this year is when Nesmith was out. And I feel like if you just look at his regular season numbers, 12 points per game, 4 boards. What I do want to throw out there is he was a 50, 40, 90 guy. I believe he was the only one. He just didn't qualify for enough games. So he has been sneaky good all season, but raised his play in every single round. Round 1 averaged 15 points per game on 54% shooting, 52% from 3, about 6.5 rebounds. Round 2, 14.5 points, 6.6 rebounds, 50% from the field, 45% from 3. And then right now against the Knicks, he's averaging 16.5 points per game, about 5 boards per game, 54% from the field, 62% from 3. I mean, we obviously already touched on his heroics in Game 1. This is just someone who's on an $11 million contract per year. Like, think about that. I'm already like trying to, have the check, just say, hey, look, can you just sign it, make it blank, whatever? Because guys like Aaron Nesmith, guys like Miles Turner, very vital to what the Pacers want to do. They talked about how this is a Pacers team that's not paid the tax in over 20 years. Some of that is going to have to change because you got to keep this roster together, especially if you are on the cusp of the NBA Finals. But before we get to any of that offseason talk, let's just finish the job. But as we wrap up, please tell everybody where they could find you at on social media and some of the great content you're always putting out.
Yes, sir. Yeah, on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, at Just S Baraheni. Actually, Just S Baraheni everywhere on any kind of
nice and
social
easy.
media. And yeah, listen to the Athletic NBA Daily, man. Myself, David Dufour, Zena Kada, Andrew Schlecht. We cover the NBA all around, and it's been a blast to do it this season. It's been a blast to cover your Pacers. It's been a lot of fun to do. So thank you, Facci, for having me. Appreciate
Absolutely. And this will not be the last time. I'm sure we're going to have some good offseason talk. As it's been too long, we appreciate you coming back on. Always nice to get a non-biased point of view because, look, hey, we can be homers at times on this show. We know how it is. We're passionate about our team. But I thought you brought some great takes, some great insights tonight. And I look forward to the next time we chat.